Now the ITV News in London with Lucrezia Millerini.
Tonight, nothing has changed. The anger of people still living in damp, leaking homes in Croydon. Months after ITV News exposed shocking conditions, they are protesting at the lack of action to improve where they live and the effect it's having on their lives.
My son is like 80% he's ill, coughing.
Just days away from so-called Freedom Day, the Royal London reopens its COVID ICU to cope with an increase in seriously ill patients. Love always wins. Arsenal's Bukayo Saka responds to the racist abuse posted online after the Euros final as a petition to ban those guilty of it from the terraces gets more than 1 million signatures. And the street cat named Bob, gone but not forgotten. A statue goes up in his memory.
If it hadn't been for Bob coming into my life when he did, I don't know if I'd even be alive today.
Good evening. 4 months after ITV News exposed terrible housing conditions in Croydon, those living there say nothing has changed. The council insists progress has been made, but people living in the council-run blocks say they have to wait months for repairs and that their children are getting ill because of constant leaks. They have taken to protesting in desperate attempts to make their voices heard, as Will Davies reports.
Show me some of the problems that you've been having in the kitchen.
I have a lot of problems here, seriously, in my kitchen.
Hawa Yusuf lives in this 2-bedroom flat with her 3 children and says since she moved into the block on Regina Road in Croydon in 2009, it has been beset by leaks.
The ceiling is still falling. All the time, when I wake up morning time, it's all like a ceiling is falling.
In November, water started pouring down the walls and from the ceiling and continued to do so on and off for 5 months. Hawa said she rang the council every day. She spent the winter in lockdown, unable to use her cooker or prepare food in her kitchen. When you see that now, how does that make you feel?
I didn't sleep all night. Seriously, I was so worried about my kids. My son is like 80% he's ill, coughing, because it's damp and mud everywhere, you know.
And that must make you really worried as a mum.
It is. But what can I do?
Croydon's housing crisis is well known. Back in March, ITV News reported on the terrible state of some of the council-run blocks. But despite promises, little, it seems, has changed. And now residents are taking action. Last night they took to the streets to protest. A report from independent consultants says Croydon Council has failed to deliver even basic core housing services effectively.
It's just a lot of talk and no action, basically. A lot of talk and no action.
What percentage of residents here have had problems?
Out of all the doors that I've knocked on, I've had 2 people tell me they have nothing in this block here. And that's got to be 98%, hasn't it?
So only 2 people have said they don't have any problems?
Yeah, any problems at all. And that's now. They have had problems previously, they just don't have anything to report now.
What have you made of the council's response?
When you go to the meetings with all the councillors, it's very, very promising, and you think, they start crying, and you think, oh, they actually care, they are actually listening to us, they are actually going to do something. And then nothing changes. Another month goes by and we're all still sat in the same flats with the same conditions, with no action plan, no plan of going forward.
Croydon Council told us today they have spoken to residents and have carried out many repairs, and that they are recruiting and training more staff and trying to fix issues quicker. They say they want all their council residents to feel cared for and listened to.
I don't trust them. Seriously, I don't trust them.
Howard says the council did offer to move her to a new flat, but when she went to see it, it was even worse than her current one.
I don't see any bright future for me, seriously. I know definitely leak going to come back, and during the winter time, dump is going to come back everywhere.
All she can do now is wait. Will Davies, ITV News.
Well, just days before coronavirus restrictions are eased, one of London's biggest hospitals has reopened its COVID ICU ward after a rise in cases. Joshua Stokes is outside the Royal London Hospital tonight. Joshua, what is the situation there?
Well, the situation isn't looking great right now and has caused some concern in the capital. As you said, the COVID intensive care ward here at Royal London Hospital is having to reopen after a rise in COVID cases. 19 people are currently being treated in intensive care here. A spokesperson for the hospital has said reopening the ward is all part of operational plans, but this comes just days before all restrictions are to be lifted in England on Monday. And this is reflective across the capital. There are now 575 people in hospital with COVID in London. That's compared to 411 people just last week, so an increase of 39%. As for ventilators, there are now 117 people using them, and that's an increase from 75 last week. So an increase of 56% there. So you can really start to see that steady increase in figures as the third wave begins to move across London. And the message from the hospital is ultimately make sure you've had the vaccine to get that ultimate protection. We should say at this point this increase is still relatively small compared to what we've seen in the past. But as the third wave begins to take shape here, it's an increase that at this point is likely only going to grow.
All right, Joshua, thank you. Arsenal's Bukayo Saka has responded to the racist abuse he faced after England's defeat to Italy in the Euro 2020 final. The winger was one of three players who missed penalties on Sunday night, while senior correspondent Ronke Phillips is here. So, Ronke, we've heard from quite a few of the players already, haven't we? What has Saka had to say?
Well, do you know what we've got to remember, and I want to start by saying this, is that Bukayo Saka is just 19 years old. He's just a teenager. You can only imagine the pressure he was feeling taking that final, that last penalty. And remember, it was the final penalty of the game. And his devastation when he missed, I mean, it was palpable, wasn't it? You only have to see that video of Gareth Southgate hugging him and his teammates supporting him to know how bad he was feeling. And he was instantly, as you say, subjected to all that racist abuse along with Marcus Rashford and Jadon Sancho. And he said in his statement he had to take a few days off to be with his family before responding, but we've now had that response. And in that statement, he rounds on the social media companies. I mean, he actually names them. He names Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. And he says, I knew instantly the kind of hate that I was about to receive, and it's a sad reality that your powerful platforms are not doing enough to stop these messages. There's no place for racism, he says, or hate of any kind in football or any area of society. And he also reveals how bad he was suffering, because he says, I was hurting so much and I felt like I'd let you all and my England family down. But I can promise you this, he says, I will not let that moment or the negativity that I've received this week break me. And Bukayo then goes on to thank everybody, all those kind messages. And he says, you know, the messages he's had from people of every race, gender, age, class, show what football really is about. And he ends by saying, love will always win.
Yes, okay, thank you. Well, as soon as the final penalty was missed in the Euro 2020 final on Sunday, many, just like Bukayo Saka himself, feared the racism would follow. As the players were comforted on the pitch, off the pitch, online, the racist abuse began. So, 3 Muslim women started a petition to get racist footballers banned for life from matches. More than 1.1 million people have now signed that petition. Well, Huda Jawad is one of those women who started it. And I'm very pleased to say she joins us now from Sudbury. Huda, thanks so much for joining us tonight. We just heard from Ronke there, just, you know, reliving what that moment must have been like for Bukayo Saka. But you now have more than 1 million people backing your petition. You've got to take heart from that. And it, I think, sends a very clear message that decent people will not put up with the kind of hatred that was directed towards those players after that final.
Well, I just want to pay homage to Saka. What a magnificent young man, to be so composed, to be so calm and collected, to be so contrite and really reflective of how his feelings and taking the time to kind of communicate despite the hate that he's received. And I wish all of us who have experienced the harm of racism could be as composed as him. We are so happy and delighted that everyone, over 1,100,000 people, are behind the petition, and it's growing. And as you say, it's a very clear message to the racists that there's no room for you in football. And as Bukayo Saka says, there's no room for you in society. So please carry on signing. And now we want to take action, and we want to hear from the FA and from social media platforms.
Well, listen, that's important, isn't it, Huda? And that was the point that Bukayo Saka was making as well. This is not just about football and footballers and the awful things that we saw online after that match on Sunday, but this is a much broader issue and bigger problem, and it has a lot to do with the fact that people can go on these social media websites and networks, and they are anonymous. They are doing what they do in secret, and they are emboldened as a result. So it must fall on those social media companies to act as well.
Absolutely. Social media can be a force for good. We've seen that through, the nation speaking by signing the petition. But what's really, really important is the social media platforms like Facebook, Twitter and Instagram do not relegate their responsibility, and do not say that because things are anonymous, things are complicated, there's thousands of people that are using these platforms, that we can't do anything about it. It's not good enough. Football should be safe for everybody to watch, to take part in, to go to work in. And we won't have racism here or in football or anywhere else.
And Huda, I want to ask you a final question as well. We heard news today that the Team GB men's and women's football teams at the Olympics will be taking the knee. Now, this is the first time that has ever happened. And of course, we heard the awful booing of the England football team when they were doing that as well. But now it's going to be happening at the Olympics. We know that. Your response?
Well, I just think, look at the ripple effect of these amazing squad. Look at the magnificent squad, what they've done through their leadership. They've been able to educate and empower and inspire athletes and sportsmen and women across the world. And now the Olympics will be the stage for the rejection of hate and racism and the message of love. And all power to them. And we're right behind them.
All right, Huda Jawad, thank you so much for talking to us, and I'm sure your petition will get a few more signatures. Thank you.
Thank you.
On to other news. A man in Hertfordshire has escaped police by driving along the train tracks in a stolen car. Passengers waiting for trains at Cheshunt Station watched as a black Range Rover sped down the tracks. Police had tried to stop the car outside the station. 2 officers were injured and several cars were damaged. Hammersmith Bridge will finally reopen to pedestrians and cyclists this weekend. Having not been used for almost a year, the bridge was closed after huge cracks were discovered in the iron structure, but the council says after numerous investigations and advice from engineers, it can partly reopen. And a 16-year-old who was stabbed to death in Thornton Heath has been named by police. Demery Omaroy died in hospital on Sunday, 2 days after he was found stabbed. When a statement, police said his death had caused unimaginable devastation for his family. This morning, a 19-year-old was charged with his murder. Next, scrappage schemes to get rid of old diesel vans, minibuses and lorries have been suspended because so many drivers have tried to cash in on their vehicles before the ultra-low emission zone comes into force in October. From October the 25th, drivers of any old diesels will have to pay £12.50 inside the zone, which extends to the North and South Circular. TfL only has a limited pot of money to pay to scrap older cars, leaving businesses out of pocket. Our political correspondent Simon Harris reports.
It's a good time to be in scrap. At this yard in Wembley, cars are piled high awaiting their turn in the crusher. Business is booming thanks to the proposed expansion of the ultra-low emission zone. Owners who can are taking advantage of payments of up to £2,000 from a Transport for London scrappage scheme.
Some of them it's like losing a baby. They start photographing the car and they're upset about it. Others just take it and say it's one of those things. The car's got to go, even though it's a good car.
London's ultra-low emission zone was introduced by the Mayor in 2019. It covers the same part of London as the congestion charge zone. But in October, the ULEZ will expand to cover a much wider area, every road inside the North and South Circulars. For Bobby, a self-employed maintenance worker, it means trading in his car or more likely looking for work away from London.
I'm going to lose probably a lot because I pay for the car £2,000. I can't take 200 now, so I have to buy another one, 5, 6, maybe 10,000.
Near the North Circular in Barking, the ULEZ is costing this breakdown recovery firm millions of pounds. Big tow trucks capable of hauling a bus or lorry come with a £250,000 price tag. Smaller vehicles in the fleet also need replacing.
I can understand what the Mayor's trying to do, but I don't really think he understands the impact it has on some of the businesses. A business like ours, where we've got a number of vehicles to replace, we've struggled through COVID, you know, turnover's down.
Transport for London had 3 scrappage schemes, but those for vans and minibuses and heavy vehicles have run out of money.
The scrappage scheme needs to be expanded. We've identified that there's the business rate reserve, which we could use to fund £50 million of further scrappage schemes. That's needed. You know, if Sadiq Khan wants to expand the ultra-low emission zone, at least help make sure that it doesn't hurt the poorest in London.
The Mayor points to findings by Asthma UK and the British Lung Foundation.
More than 500,000 Londoners are now registered with asthma, including myself. And the new research shows that 2/3 of sufferers say their condition is made worse by poor air quality.
When the expanded ULEZ arrives in October, TfL estimates 100,000 cars will have to pay the £12.50 a day charge.
And there will be more on ULEZ in our monthly political programme, The Late Debate, after news at 10 tonight. Simon is in the studio at Westminster with a look at what's coming up on the programme.
On the Late Debate, we'll be asking whether the expansion of the ultra-low emission zone should be postponed. Among the MPs joining me in the studio is Sarah Green after her unexpected by-election win in Chesham and Amersham. By coincidence, the Prime Minister made a speech today in an attempt to reassure Tory voters that levelling up in the north doesn't mean levelling down here. We'll also discuss the emerging fiasco over mask rules. That's the Late Debate here on ITV after news at 10.
Thank you, Simon. Still to come, sunshine on St Swithin's Day, and as the folklore predicts, the forecast is good for the days ahead. We'll have the weather plus a statue for the street cat named Bob, where he used to live with his owner. But first, a Metropolitan Police officer has left the force and started his own initiative to try to stop youth violence. 22 teenagers have been killed so far this year in London. Well, the new scheme is called Chapter 1. Ali Hassan Ali told Ria Chatterjee he joined the force wanting to make a difference to young people's lives, but believes structural racism played a part in stopping him doing that, something his boss has refuted.
So you were saying that leaving...
Just a few weeks ago, Ali Hassan Ali was part of one of the Met's response units, a police constable doing his bit, a witness to the aftermath of stabbings and a proponent of change in stop and search, he says. But he's no longer with the Met.
From my experiences, yes, there's individual racists within the organisation, for sure.
And you felt that,
and I felt it, of course.
And was that explicit? Or?
That wasn't explicit, but it's almost indirect, so it will come through work that you want to do that's going to be denied. Parts of me being stopped constantly when I wanted to suggest schools programs or wanted to do community stuff. Denied. It was simply not going anywhere. So you'd start to realise and say to yourself, there are people higher up who maybe just do not want this sort of change now.
We put these claims to the Chief Superintendent.
I've been in this organisation 29 years, so ask me whether institutional racism has changed, rather than someone who's actually only been in for months. He's a brand new officer, brand new. In the 29 years, I've seen significant changes in how this organisation operates. We are not perfect by no stretch of the imagination. In terms of Ali's career progression, I personally worked with him on his career development. I saw where he could go, and he was not being stopped.
Ali has formed an organisation called Chapter 1, made up partly of former officers. They'll go to areas under the radar as violence interrupters, an approach well proven in US cities such as Chicago.
What my volunteers would do is speak to these young boys and people in the community and go, listen, we are going to set up shop in this little corner of this estate that no one goes to, and we will talk to people. We will ask what the grievances are. We will ask what the tensions are, and people will start to look at us as in like an outlet of like, look, violence is not the key. Why kill your future, sort of thing?
Ali says some people from black and Asian backgrounds accused him of being a traitor when he joined the force. So why leave, I asked, if he thinks trust needs fixing.
I want to do something so much that I'm just going to need to go and do it now. Local disruptors.
With that,
and also the local NYPD.
He launches into his plans. Ria Chatterjee, ITV News.
Sport now, and after being cancelled last year because of the pandemic, Wimbledon returned with fans able to watch matches. Well, for Hampstead's Harriet Dart, the championship will also be memorable as she reached her first mixed doubles final with her partner Jo Salisbury. While they didn't win, they were successful in their mission to inspire the next generation of tennis players. Antoine Allen reports.
Very special moment. Today we have Wimbledon mixed doubles finalist Harriet Dart. Put your hands together.
As a child, Hampstead's Harriet Dart dreamed of playing on centre court. At just 24 years old, with the help of fellow Londoner Jo Salisbury, she became a runner-up in the mixed doubles final. The LTA arranged for children in Wandsworth to play a rally with the SW19 star.
I think you can hit that a bit harder. Go on.
They all had one question on their mind.
What was it like to play at Wimbledon?
Oh, it was so much fun, especially because we missed it last year.
Harriet, when we last spoke, you said you wanted to reach the Wimbledon final, and you did it. How satisfying was that?
Yeah, it's just crazy that it actually, happened.
During the lockdown, Harriet kept her centre court dream alive by keeping fit in her garage and challenging herself in support of her favourite charities.
It's definitely been super challenging the last few months, and you're just very fortunate to be able to be back on court, to have the opportunity to play tournaments. Just the whole support and everything during the week as well with the crowd. Honestly, it's the nicest thing ever to play with a full crowd. I've definitely missed that so much. It's just been super special, especially having the home fans behind you, and you can really feel that, and you just want to do well for them.
Harriet and Jo were beaten by fellow Brit Neil Skupski. The British trio's success, plus teenager Emma Raducanu's singles run, shows British tennis has a bright future.
Especially with Wimbledon, it's just super inspiring to kind of be out there and to be in front of the British fans and showcase the best of British tennis. And, hopefully we can motivate and inspire lots of kids to pick up a racket and play some more tennis.
At age 7, Harriet already had her eye on the ball.
Terrible technique. I've come a long way.
Harriet's surprise visit showed these children the practice can pay off.
Saw her on TV at Wimbledon, and it was like I never thought that I would actually meet her.
To meet a professional tennis player, well, it was very nice, and to play rallies with her as well.
Good luck. I hope you continue well in your life and you accomplish great things.
Wimbledon was the first time Harriet reached the Grand Slam final. No doubt her career in the spotlight is just getting started. Antoine Allen, ITV News.
Next to a big dog causing an even bigger stir around the world, Boris, the Pyrenean mountain dog, is taller than most adults and weighs a hefty 8 stone. He's been named champion of his breed, not just in Britain, but also in Ireland and Switzerland. And as Heather Edwards reports, Boris from Bracknell is going global.
Standing at 6 feet on his hind legs and weighing in at over 50 kilos, Boris the Pyrenean is quite literally a mountain of a dog. Susan Riley has kept the breed all her life, but this one is very special.
It's not only me, he's like a magnet. He attracts people, and when I take him for a walk, it's literally 2 paces, stop, another 2 paces, stop, and people asking the same questions like, he must eat a lot, you must have to walk him miles.
Home for Boris is this terraced house in Bracknell that he shares with Susan and the German shepherd Lolly. So how does she cope with such a big dog?
Well, to be honest with you, I haven't found any problems with having a bigger dog. In fact, years ago I had a couple of small dogs and I found them more of a problem. They seemed to be under my feet all the time, and whereas with Boris you know exactly where he is, normally next to you, and he's a star.
And Boris is a true titan. He's British champion, Irish champion, Swiss champion, still to be world champion, but Susan hopes he'll win that next year. Heather Edwards, ITV News, Bracknell with Boris.
You could just give him the cuddle, couldn't you? Weather now, and the sunshine is here to stay. Here's Philippa with the forecast.
Making the most of it, whatever the weather. Octopus Energy sponsors ITV London weekday weather.
Hello there. It's been a glorious day out there for many of us today. Today, of course, is St Swithin's Day, and as the saying goes, whatever the weather is today, it should last for the next 40 days. Certainly for the next few days, it's looking pretty promising. Plenty of sunshine, light winds and warming up. Whether that'll last us the next 40 remains to be seen. So what's going on? Well, high pressure very much in charge at the moment, and it becomes increasingly well established as we head into the weekend, keeping things dry and settled across the southeast and allowing the temperatures to slowly rise day on day as well. Out there at the moment, largely clear skies to start the night, but as the night wears on, we will see a bit more cloud drifting down on the north to northeasterly winds, and for all of us, it will be a mild one, temperatures staying up in double figures. Tomorrow morning then, quite a bit of cloud on the scene for some of us first thing, but the July sunshine soon getting to work, burning much of that cloud away, and for the rest of the day, it looks pretty glorious. Unbroken sunshine taking us into the afternoon, and underneath those sunny skies, temperatures will get just a little higher than they have done today, peaking at around 28 Celsius. And that trend continues as we head through the weekend. Dry and sunny conditions prevailing. Sunday set to see the peak of the temperatures, possibly squeezing just above 30 Celsius.
Octopus Energy sponsors ITV London weekday weather.
Hello, summer. Piri sponsors ITV Pollen Count.
Lots of lovely sunny weather on the way over the coming days, but that's not great news for hay fever sufferers. Grass pollen season still very much at its peak, and levels expected to be very high for the next few days at least.
And finally, remember the street cat named Bob? Well, he belonged to a big issue seller in Islington. They formed an unlikely friendship, which inspired a book and a film. Sadly, Bob died last year, but he's been immortalised with a statue paid for by 100,000 donations from all over the world. Toby Sadler reports.
This is a tribute to a best friend, Bob the cat, not your average feline. Now he's immortalised in bronze, but this is how he will be remembered. A permanent companion to busker and big issue seller James Bowen.
Hello. Hello, Bob. If it hadn't been for Bob coming into my life when he did, I don't know if I'd even be alive today. I was a heroin addict, I was homeless.
It was a story that became a book and inspired a legion of fans.
Oh my goodness, look at that, Bob. Look, who's that? Who's that?
Then came the film.
I had high hopes about... He's got a name, it's Bob.
Bob was hit by a car and died last year. The grief of more than 100,000 fans became donations and in turn this statue.
Yeah, the most important part is the character and capturing that. Obviously you're doing it through the physical form, so the details, and it's so important that it is Bob. So I have to say I spent more time doing this sculpture than I have, you know, a life-size stag or, you know, big sculptures. It's taken a long time, and I've just gone back and back and back, just trying to get the details, so I know the fans will be looking at every part.
James was given an early preview and was instantly overwhelmed.
As we pulled around and I saw him in the window, he was there. He's in that statue. I'm going to cry now. Now, I was always worried that, you know, a sculpture, something in bronze, would never quite have all the detail in it. But, I mean, as close as it can be, he is in there.
James keeps Bob's ashes in this urn, but a part of them was also mixed in with the bronze. Dee and Angela are fans, part of a group called the Bobites.
I think it's brilliant. I think it's absolutely brilliant that there's a place for us to come and remember this beautiful, intelligent cat.
I was so upset when Bob died. I cried for ages, more than when my own cats died.
The statue is on Islington Green, near the spot where James and Bob used to take a break from selling the big issue. It's also in front of the bookshop where James first started to write their story. Bob gave James a life he could only imagine. Hopefully, he didn't have strong views on dogs. Toby Sadler, ITV News.
Oh, Bob. That is all. The Late Bulletin is after ITV News at 10. Up next, Charlene with the ITV Evening News, but from me and the rest of the London team, bye-bye.